Welcome back. You're watching Brandequity and I'm Sonali Krishna. Now, most of you must have noticed that Godrej has really upped its game when it comes to external communication. So we saw the infusion of colors in its logo, some really unique advertising from the Godrej stable, and the fact that it suddenly got a lot of young blood into the organization. The attempt to make Godrej more contemporary has not gone unnoticed. But what's been the impact of this makeover? Well, I caught up with Adi Godrej to find out just that. Listen in. First things first, over the last 5 years or so, we've seen Godrej gone through an entire metamorphosis of sorts. You know, there's been a facelift, there's been more color, there's, an attempt to make it more youthful and energetic. How has that actually worked out for you? And when did you decide that, it was time Godrej was given a more contemporary feel?
I think it's worked out very well for us. As you mentioned 5 years ago or a little before that, we realized that we need to be more contemporary. A lot of people refer to us as their parents' brand, or some even as their grandparents' brand,
sure,
rather than their brand. So very clearly we decided we need to revisit the brand. Also, a lot of people associated us and our brand with older products like locks and soaps.
Right.
Whereas we are in very many more modern products. For example, we supply to the National Space Program, we supply to the nuclear program, we supply plant and equipment. So we thought we would reposition the brand. So we did a major study with Interbrand, doing a lot of research, a lot of work with our employees, etc., and then repositioned the brand. In the process, we also redesigned our logo, in the sense that the logo shape remained identical, but we were using it in different companies and different colors, etc. We standardized it into a logo which stands out very well. So overall, it's gone very well.
There was also, a sense that you've actually brought in, there's a lot of infusion of young blood within the organization. What kind of people have you looked at consciously to get on board to make it a more youthful organization?
Well, 2 or 3 things. We've always been taking a lot of management trainees in our company for many decades.
Sure.
But what we did was we tried to get people to rise much faster in the organization.
Okay.
As we were expanding, we were also employing many more people. We recruited also a fair number of very senior executives directly from outside.
Right.
Some of them are leading our businesses. For example, Vivek Gambhir, who is now the managing director of Godrej Consumer Products, joined us 5 years ago from Bain & Company as head of strategy.
Right.
Now he is MD of Godrej Consumer Products. So we've had other such senior people directly recruited at senior level. Our HR strategy has also changed over the period, both in terms of motivation, in terms of objectives for our people, and all of that has fit in well together.
Can you give me a sense of how your international operations are doing, and the current status and your future plans, and how aggressive are you looking to get?
In the last quarter, 48% of Godrej Consumer Products sales came from outside of India.
Sure.
We have companies in many countries across the world, mainly in the developing world. So we have one major operation in the UK, but otherwise all of them are in the developing world. Indonesia, many African countries, many Latin American countries. They're growing very well, they're doing very well, and our salience of international operations to the total is growing almost every quarter.
In terms of, Godrej Properties or Godrej Interior, which is doing very well, suddenly, got a lot of buzz. What is the plan to ensure that, this becomes the go-to place for furniture, like an IKEA is in large parts of the world? And similarly, Godrej Properties, which you've also, launched it with a great campaign. What's the plan there to ensure that, given this really gloomy, depressed period that we're going through, to actually ensure conversions?
Well, you must understand that IKEA, for example, is a retailer.
Yeah.
Maybe they design some of their products, but most of them are supplied by others.
Yeah.
We are mainly a manufacturer and marketer. And we have a very strong brand that goes across categories. So the Godrej brand is strongly used in our interior business. But interior in the past usually serviced of commercial offices. Now increasingly our business is with homes.
Okay.
We've always been in homes, especially with our Stowell cupboards, but we've increased our offerings for the home tremendously. So our growth in home furniture is tremendous. As far as Godrej Properties is concerned, we leverage our brand very strongly in our property business. It's one of the fastest growing businesses in our group. It's also a business we think which will be much bigger in years to come. It may end up being our single largest business over the next 10 years or so.
Wow, okay.
So we are positioning the brand very strongly in Godrej Properties.
The steep increase we've seen in advertising spends with the group, I mean, it's, I think it's beaten anybody else. You know, why would you spend so much money at a time when people are actually trying to shrink their budget?
Well, sometimes we'd like to be counter-cyclical because I think it helps, it works. So, for example, in Godrej Consumer Products, our advertising expenditure in the first quarter increased by about 70% as compared to the same quarter of the previous year.
Sure.
So, I think we've derived very strong benefits because we had the highest growth among FMCG businesses. We had a 23% growth. So, our advertising had paid us very strong dividends. And of course, we also had this major campaign with Amir Khan as our brand ambassador. So very clearly, in order to leverage his availability as a brand ambassador, we need to spend more money.
So is this aggressive advertising approach that we've seen with Godrej going to continue in the foreseeable future?
Yes, we think it will continue strongly. I think our advertising expenditure will keep increasing, and we have established for ourselves as we went into the brand relaunch, as we went into Amir as an ambassador, we have a 10 by 10 objective for the group. That is to be 10 times our size in 10 years' time.
How many years have passed?
3 years.
Okay.
And 10 by 10 means a compounded annual growth rate of 26%.
Okay.
Our actual growth rate over the last 3 years has been around 30%.
Okay.
So we are ahead of the curve.
Okay. Okay. The slowdown that we're seeing, and really gloom and doom on a bloodbath on D Street. How are you combating what seems to be emerging as consumers heavily downtrading now? That might not be a bit of a concern for you because you have products across price points, but are you actually seeing that behavior?
First of all, I don't think there's too much downtrading taking place. But if there were a lot of downtrading, we would benefit tremendously.
Absolutely.
So we wouldn't be too concerned about that. I don't think there's too much downtrading taking place. And whilst the economy has not been doing well, and I suppose consumers have been a little restrained in their expenditure, we have grown quite well. And we have in fact captured shares in almost all our categories. Now, we expect that with a very good monsoon, there'll be very good agricultural growth this year.
Okay.
And that agricultural growth is going to translate into a lot of discretionary income in rural India. So we expect from the second half onwards, from October onwards, there'll be strong growth in rural demand, which I think will help our consumer products businesses.
You had once said a few months earlier that price hikes will be dependent on how much the rupee depreciates. Given the fact that we've almost hit rock bottom, of course some are predicting that it's going to hit 70 soon. What kind of price hikes do you see in the
some price hikes because especially in our soaps business, because we use imported vegetable oils for the soap business, where the rupee depreciation will have a strong impact. And I think we'll see some price hikes. It's difficult to tell. Each brand will have its own approach. But I think the whole industry will probably take some price hikes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Godrej. It's truly a pleasure to speak.
All the best.
On that note, it's time for a short breather. But coming up, on the final verdict, 10 leading marketers give us their view on Flipkart's latest campaign, India Wants to Know.